Good morning.
Good morning, sister.
How are you?
I'm well, thanks, and you?
Good, thank you. So, are we ready for our next pose this morning?
Yes, so today we are doing bridge pose. The Sanskrit name is Setu Bandha Sarvangasana. So I hope you can hear me. I'm just going to start and tell you how to get into the pose from that from there. So I'm hoping my voice is clear. So this pose, you're going to have to take your feet distance apart, knees up. And you're going to raise from your lower back, but very gently, you're going to come up one vertebra at a time. So very gently, I will up. So this is a classical pose with a flat feet. So you can stand to the side and interlace beneath you. So this is one way of doing it. The second way, I'm just going to slowly. So the second way of doing it is to the balls of your feet, so you can do more height. So I respect you can feel your going up the ground, the balls of the feet. You can use your hands to elevate your hips. So that this is the way it's more invigorating. So I respect you can more slowly. And the next way is when we use a yoga block. So when we use the yoga block, it becomes a restorative. And you can stay in this position for an extended period of time. So in this position, it now becomes a restorative. And as you can see, it's a back bend and an inversion. So it's 2-in-1 basically. So Arishka, if you can just remove the block very gently, up down vertebra at a time. Thank you. So that was Setu Bandha Sarvangasana. So it can be an invigorating pose, and it can also become a restorative. So when you put the yoga block at the base of your spine, on the sacrum, then it becomes a restorative. You can actually stay there for quite some time, and just it's very comfortable, and you can just like sort of be in a meditative position, and it's very, very beneficial to the body. So this is a beginner's back bend and an inversion, and it's one of those ideal poses that can be practiced daily, simply because of the benefits. For those of us that sit at our desks in an office all day long, you'll notice that you hunch your shoulders and the extension of your fingers, if you use of your hands, or if you're using your computer and stuff, you'll notice that over time, our postures are compromised. So, but when we practice this pose regularly, it actually helps to correct the posture and possibly prevent you, actually it will prevent you from getting that bad posture. So this pose also helps to relieve stress by balancing or bridging the sympathetic nervous system, which is your fight or flight response, and then and the parasympathetic nervous system, which is the rest and digest system. So physically in the body, this is where the unity comes in this pose. And so the name of this pose, once again, was inspired by the Ramayana. So just in a nutshell, Sita is kidnapped by Ravan, and Ram is now in search of his wife, along with his brother and Hanuman and this army of animals. So in order to cross that the ocean to where Sita is, which is in Lanka, they have to build a bridge. So needless to say, the bridge was built and Sita was eventually rescued. So the analogy or the lesson in this is that Sita represents the mind, Ram represents the soul and Ravan represents the ego. So when the ego, when we allow ego to come in, it separates the mind from the soul. And so now we must build a bridge through our practice of yoga, which includes the physical and the meditative process of yoga, to bring the mind and the soul together. So that's my take on Setu Sarvam Asana. I know it's a little bit of a tongue twister, but yes, that's bridge pose.
I think I'll just stick to the bridge pose and leave the rest to you. So we were looking at, it's when you think of the bridge, obviously we kind of looking at joining two ends. But if you look at the whole idea of unity, I'd like to connect unity is that when there's no spaces between us. And the one thing that is really good in a sense is that when I separate myself from another person because of a difference of opinion, or we all then seem to take our own paths, and it really does always stem from people having different opinions and ideas, and we can't see eye to eye. And so then what happens is that the same task is done in different ways. And so it takes everyone a lot more energy to get it done. But if we had the kind of awareness not to let there be any differences between us. So now, in the instance that you saying that Ram is the soul and the mind is Sita, imagine within our own self, they can be, just because the mind is on its own mission, getting things from here, there, and everywhere, becoming very external, it is not being able to use, it can't be used by the soul, because the soul itself is able to power itself and have a state of consciousness based on the kind of thoughts that filter into the mind. So if the mind is grabbing onto thoughts of limitations and differences and being critical and all of that, then there's not much power coming to the soul. And so the state of being of the soul won't be peaceful and loving and in its original state of being. So the card that we got today in terms of defining unity, I thought for me was quite a nice way of putting it, that I become a custodian of unity when I finish the spaces of name, form, nationality, gender between me and the rest of the world. It is this unity that creates a culture of belonging, shows love and respect for all, brings harmony and cooperation. And obviously, if we look at our world and what we want to achieve or experience from it, is that we actually do want to experience that we belong. We don't want to be aliens on this planet. We also want to have a sense of love and respect, so that what I'm doing is respected and others also. But the powerful thing is that we're not alone. We're doing things in cooperation, and that gives us a lot of strength. So I think in just how you mentioned that, this is one pose that, you can just be in for a long period of time. And it has that ability to create the inversion, which I think is necessary every day to get some extra oxygen to the brain to give us that ability to function well. So to sustain our lives, this quality of unity actually promotes love. It's actually the end product of unity is that there'll be an experience of love. So whilst unity is a virtue, love is a quality that is experienced within I, the living being. And that's something that the whole world is kind of going towards, to ultimately feel connected, feel close, receive the attainments from having close, loving, respectful relationships. So my take from listening to the pose itself, I think that if we hold the space for ourselves in this way, we'll be nourishing our body, obviously strengthening it as well. But when I'm coming from a deeper sense of where I'm very safe and very secure, I don't have to actually create barriers between me and other people. So whether it's my name that I use to be more superior than others, or I use my nationality to differentiate, or whatever it is, my gender, all of those little blocks are just external stuff which really separate us from our real self. But indirectly, what it also does is that it separates us from everyone else. And so that is actually creating me then feeling isolated and alone. And we know that feeling when you feel alone and isolated, you just can't be very productive. So I think building this bridge seems to be a powerful way in which we can experience our lives to be more fruitful and more benevolent for ourselves. So, Shalona, what do you say? Is there anything else that you want to add to this before we meditate?
Yes. What I noticed throughout these days that we've been doing this program is that it all begins with the self. Sometimes we may, in fact, I think every aspect of our lives begins with ourselves. So when you just mentioned that we create the separation and stuff like that, the thing that it is the ego that obviously comes in. But sometimes when we are in a situation or in a challenging circumstance where a person has done something to you or has insulted you, whatever the case may be, but that person has hurt you, we don't want to forgive. We don't want to forget. We want to hold on to that because we seem to feel that it's justified. We justify to hold that space. But what we fail to realize is that we are doing more harm to ourselves. And in order for us to be that loving being, we have to very easily, and it's not easy, but we have to let go and we have to concentrate on the self. The self, I think, is more important than everything else because when we work on the self, then automatically everything around you changes.
I say it's so beautiful that the one thing I have access to is me, no without permission. And so I can always use me to do what I need to do instead of waiting for another person or and feeling like the victim at the end of the day that it's because of someone else that this has to happen. But knowing that actually it's all within my own, the ball is in my court. And it's just my decision how I actually return that ball. I want to return it as a spinner, just throw it back or just let it touch. But it's really up to me, which I think I like because this whole idea that people keep waiting for somebody else and who the somebody else is, I don't really know. But it's nice to take back our own power and, change our lives accordingly. So I'm going to invite us to take a moment and let's just take a deep breath as we appreciate the end of the day. Not the end of the day, the beginning of the day, and allow ourselves to just observe what is within my space. Allow myself to wake up to the reality that whatever I see with my eyes, whatever surrounds me, is in fact my creation. And that as much as I find myself sometimes challenged by my own circumstances and situation, by knowing that it is really my creation, I have a choice. And this choice is either to be pulled in further by the circumstances and situations, or I change my attitude and empower myself to decide which way I'd like to go. And what is so beautiful to realize that the way is not out there, but it is inward. And as I take this moment to disassociate myself from all the external things that are forever keeping me occupied, keeping me engaged, I choose to look at myself as a being. And in that definition of being, I realize that I am present in this moment. I am the peace that is part of my original nature. I am authentic, which is the true values of I, the soul. When I remind myself that I am, I experience the attainment of feeling those inner treasures. When I go back into that awareness, I am, I can feel the clarity that gives me the wisdom to do and act according to my highest values. And lastly, when I remind myself that I am, I get a deep sense of stability and focus. I am allows me to go back to the roots of myself as a being of light. And the roots are deeply connected to the seed. It gives me an opportunity to really take root, become firm, strong, and stable. And even though I, this being, is invisible to the world around me, the quality of peace, love, and happiness is the common characteristics that I share with all 8.5 billion beings of this world. And so there is nothing showy about my peace and love, but it is a beautiful vibration that lingers on in 8.5 billion beings. But when I am able to stay stable, I activate and emerge that wonderful vibration in everyone, creating an atmosphere of love, unity, compassion. So today I stay true to my form of being light. And if I like to, I can even imagine myself to be being a tiny point of light energy. And let me allow myself to absorb from the unlimited light. And let that light shine through me into the world. I continue to hold that image of a tiny star of light energy, and I allow that light to just shine through, radiate, and create a beautiful presence, a beautiful atmosphere, a powerful environment where peace, love, happiness, joy, wisdom, and power are the order of the day. And as I stay true to this authentic nature, it becomes a catalyst to awaken and re-emerge that purity, peace, happiness, joy, wisdom, and power to shine out. As children of the One, when we come into this powerful consciousness of being peace and love, the unity of this consciousness transforms our world. We each become the little stepping stone, allowing us to create that bridge across the sea of turmoil over to the other side, to that world of peace and love. And in this task of transforming our world becomes the responsibility of each one of us. Only in this collective transformation lies there the opportunity for peace in the whole world. There is no thing like peace if one individual is still experiencing a form of discomfort or unease. True peace exists when everyone is in a state of rest and comfort. Om Shanti.